Heading into the home stretch of the 2024 season here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, we are set for another full night of racing this Friday night, and Bonssa Tufa will be headlined by the late models in their longest event of the 2024 season.
The Paradiso Insurance Late Model 50, the fourth running of this event. Last year it was won by Adam Gray. Tom Fern won the year before. Wayne Corey Jr. won it back in 2021. And we're having a lot of drama in the late model division after what we saw last Friday. The championship battle has tightened up in a significant way after contact with Verrecchio getting into Gambacorta caused Gambacorta to spin. Bobby Stark III had a massive fire after hitting the wall head-on. Thankfully, he was fine. Gambacorta seemed okay to go, and then Aiden Burrell came in late and climbed over to the right side of his car, tearing up the whole right side panel. But all their cars will be fixed in time for tomorrow night. They'll be ready to go. We know they're going to be fast. You can have a damaged race car, a destroyed race car, and 1 week later fight for the win. Gambacorta's got a long-run car every single week. Verrecchio's obviously been a podium car every week with a couple wins. But you got guys that are really stepping into their groove in the last 6-7 weeks, like Chris Meyer, Adam Gray, even Daryl Keene. We've seen these guys run up front. Adam Gray's the hottest driver in the division, I think, with 3 wins in the last 6 races. Plus, he won this event last year, as I mentioned. So a lot of contenders, a lot of laps to work with, a lot of drivers that have a chance at a good run and maybe a big win.
50 laps, does that really change the game that much for these drivers and teams?
No, not to me. They're still going to race hard like they do for 30 laps. They might take it a little bit easier early on, but we've seen in the past that's not always the case. Granted, the last time the late models raced a long night, they had double features, 2 30-lappers. Both races went caution-free.
That's right.
This event has gone caution-free before, too, so you never know. But I think it's going to be more of the same. You'll still get the close quarters, door-to-door, fender-banging action. I'm not saying you're going to see a lot of yellows, but it's still going to be a lot of good racing.
And you mentioned Paradiso Insurance. They are once again the sponsor of this 50-lap event. Pretty cool display for fans to see when they come into the grandstand area tomorrow night, including, for a donation, a special limited edition t-shirt.
Why don't you turn around and show it to us, Kyle? That's the shirt right there. It's a pretty cool looking shirt. So yes, you have a chance to get one of those shirts tomorrow night. 700, they'll go real quick. So hopefully you'll be here early, get a donation in, and get that shirt to help the late models and to help Paradiso Insurance.
And the donation goes to the Wall of Honor here in Stafford. Let's talk about the SK Modifieds. Mike Christopher Jr. on a roll here as of late and picked up another win, his 3rd of the year last Friday.
He's the 3rd driver now in the SK Modifieds to win 3 times this season, but no one's broken through to win their 4th yet. But Mike Christopher has just been really darn good in the last couple months. Since that new engine that they brought into that 82 car, they've been stout. A couple off weeks with getting caught up in an accident or just getting caught up in traffic, but the SKs are so tough, you can't be top 3 every single week. You're going to have a night where you finish 8th or 9th or whatever, but back in victory lane in a pretty commanding way. He took the lead before halfway and just never looked back. I don't think anybody really had anything for that 82 car. Andrew Moeller, much needed podium run after a DNF the previous week. Expands his point lead just a bit over Corey DiMatteo, who also had a good run, rebounding from that big pileup in Turn 3 to finish just outside the top 5. The SK points battle, it might have expanded a bit, as I said, but it's still tight enough where nothing is for certain. 22 points, I believe, is the gap between Moeller and DiMatteo. Christopher and Jarvis are within a race, so anything can happen. There's still plenty of time to go.
I want to talk about Jonathan Pulio for a moment. Ever since he went to a brand new race car about 6 weeks ago, nothing but top 10s for that 7 team.
A brand new car, and it's a very bold choice to change cars mid-season, but that's what they did, and it has paid off. Top 5 finishes in the last 2 races, 4th place finishes at that. Around this time a couple years ago, he got his first SK Modified win. He's always coming through in the second half of the season. We'll see if that keeps up.
In the SK Light Modifieds, twin races a week ago, including a win to the series all-time win leader.
That was a big one for Chris Matthews, getting that victory in the second feature. It helps tighten that points battle a bit between him and Tyler Chapman. Chapman still has a huge lead of over 80 points, but chipping away slowly, and now it's within 2 races, and a lot can happen in the SK Light Modifieds with those big fields. By the way, the second feature went green to checker, so kudos to those drivers for a clean 20-lap race. Matthews had to hold off after getting past Matt Brewer and Casey Vogt, who each scored their best career finish ever at Stafford Speedway. Can Matthews keep that up? Yes, but he's also got to rely on Chapman to have trouble. Chapman did find trouble in the first feature on lap 1 with Brian Sullivan and Paula Root, finished outside the top 10 in that first feature, which was won by Nick Hovey after taking the lead late from Sammy Anderson. Had to hold off Alex Pearl in the closing laps as well. Had to put a block on the 7. Pearl wasn't happy about it, as we heard in victory lane afterwards. But Hovey gets his third win of the year. Matthews gets his second checker flag of the season. Tyler Chapman, a bit of an off night, but you'll have that. He'll bounce back tomorrow night and fight for the win.
In the limited late models, it was one of the newest drivers here at the Speedway, back in victory lane for a second time this year in Matthew Winter II.
He showed a lot of speed in the first half of the year, then went through a bit of a rough patch halfway through the season. But he's back. He had a podium the week before in victory lane this past Friday. A fun battle. It was him, Matt Clement, Devin Jensick, all battling for the win. Unfortunately for Devin Jensick, he spun during that battle, fell to the rear, didn't get the spot that he wanted at the end, lost a bit of time or points to Matt Clement. Matt Clement gets a runner-up finish, expands that point lead in the big picture. That's big for him. Rich Hammond, a podium run. He has snuck into the championship battle as well. It's between those three and Jeremy Lavoie. And there's, 30 points separating those top four drivers? That's one race with how big this field has been. That's less than a race, really. So a lot can happen for that division. It was a really fun battle to watch, though, last Friday in the closing laps. Who knows how it would have ended up if Jensick did not end up spinning coming off of two after the top three all made contact. But Winter back in victory lane, snuck back in there after we talked so much about Clement and Jensick and Hammond and Lavoie. Winter has been fast, got to stay consistent. He's been more consistent lately, but we're still going to keep an eye on the big picture and see if Matt Clement can hold on for that first track title.
And no driver in that division has 3 wins yet. We have 4 drivers that have been able to repeat after that long streak to start the season with all different winners.
That's what makes it fun. You never know who's going to come home in victory lane between 10 to 11 drivers every single week. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. It could be any of them, or it could be even a new winner. You never know.
And speaking of tight championship battles, we have one in the street stocks. Travis Hydar back in Napa victory lane, slowly closing in on Tyler Trott, the point leader, and trying to pull away from Travis Downey in third, but they're all still within striking distance of each other.
And by the way, Hydar spun during the feature and still came back to win. So from 11th to the spin, to the back to the front, gets the win. That's a decisive victory for that 11 team. I think he said in victory lane he was seeing red on his way back through the field, but man, that was an impressive drive by Hydar. I don't care how fast your car is. To go through the field like that in less than 20 laps is not an easy task. He got it done. He did tighten that points gap to Tyler Trott, but at that pace, can he keep it up and get to that championship leader? I don't know, because the gap is 22 points. If you're only 2 positions ahead of Tyler Trott every single week, that's not going to be enough. So Hydar can win every week from here on out, but he's got to rely on Trott to miss the podium multiple times during the season. And for Trott, he's just got to stay consistent up front, and I think he'll be fine. Travis Downey in third, he's going to need some help. Yep. He can be up there, but he's got to rely on both Hydar and Trott to have problems to capitalize. But we've seen it before. It can happen. And the other point contenders, Jeff Aslan, Jason Lafayette, Jason Raymond, these guys all found trouble during the feature last Friday, so they kind of fell back into point contention. Not to say they're out of it, but right now it's a 3-horse race between Trott, Downey, and Hydar.
Into the final full month of the season we go here into September. Of course, championship night, the first Friday night in the month of October. Still a lot of racing to go, but for some of those drivers, 3rd, 4th, 5th in points may not be enough.
But you never know. That's why you complete every single lap of every single feature, and we'll see what comes at the end of October 4th.
And that final stretch begins this Friday night here at the Speedway for all of our weekly divisions and featuring the late models for the Paradiso Insurance 50-lapper, their longest and most prestigious event of the year. All the action gets underway just after 6 o'clock here at the racetrack, and if you can't be here, you can tune us in on Flow Racing.